Question 6 asks me what I've developed with my technology, and on my blog, I've shown my journey on what I've been going through with technology, and here are around 5 to 6 different types of things that I've used when I used technology. So first of all, when I used After Effects, um, I did it. I've shown it on my blog. Um, After Effects was really difficult to work with at first. It was a struggle, so I didn't really know how to use it at all. I was like a new person to it. Um, I never really got along with it that well, and it would just it I felt like giving up really quickly. But I was really persistent on getting my work done and getting it to the standard I wanted it to become. So I tried to do it from my head. I tried to improvise with how to use After Effects, but then I realized that I could just go on YouTube and then just use videos from YouTube and try and get that to give me a step by step. And once I had done the step by step, I started to catch on little techniques and skills on how to use After Effects, and then I just got used to it more and more, and it never became new to me. It was just something that I was used to now doing because I'd done it over a long period of time, and I carried on doing it, and I was persistent on getting used to After Effects. The smoke effect that I wanted that I first started on After Effects was a smoke effect. That smoke effect was like the most challenging thing I could have started out After Effects with. I guess one of the negatives were that I should have started off doing it as a little practice run with After Effects before trying to jump into something as complicated as that. So then at least I wouldn't have felt so pressured into doing it so well. Um, um, so yeah, that and one positive was that I used media, which was I used the internet to show me how to break down the steps, which was using YouTube. My next thing that I used technology with was Final Cut. I That was another thing. I was not used to doing Final Cut. Even though I was a previous GCSE student with media, I hadn't used Final Cut because it just looked really complicated. I didn't want to go anywhere near it. But in A level, in AS, I had to use Final Cut because it would have advanced my skills, and that's what I was going for. I wanted to go for something that I could challenge myself with not only using After Effects but also using something that I would have to edit my whole film with, my opening sequence. Final Cut was very difficult to use. I didn't know how to use it. I, as I said with After Effects, I should have started off with something small so that I could have got used to After Effects, which I kind of did with the speech bubbles, but it felt so complicated. But After Effects I became quite used to After Effects. I mean Final Cut. Final Cut. One of the problems that I had with Final Cut was that the SD card that I had tried to use for my footage wouldn't import into Final Cut. So I tried to use other softwares, but the other softwares were having difficulties with my SD card. So I felt like maybe another difficulty that I had to face with technology was trying to find out what was going wrong and what I could have done to improve it. And I think one of the things that I could have done to improve it was to just um, ask another person and not try and solve it myself. So that's what I did. And so yeah, Final Cut. I realized that I had to save Final Cut onto the Macs. Another thing where what was quite hard was that the Macs, I was not used to using a Mac. However, after I'd continuously been using the Macs, I started to get used to it and I started to become familiar with it. So I didn't know that I had to import my footage into the um, the Mac, and then from the Mac to Final Cut, and then it would start working. But I didn't know I had to do that. But then my teacher told me that I had to do that. So yeah, my next technology that I want to talk about it's also linking to Final Cut, and that was when I was using sound. Sound. Another thing was that using the cameras and filming. One of the one of the mistakes that I did with filming was that there were so many errors because I was talking over the sound while the footage was going while I was recording filming, and I didn't realize that I would have a problem with it when I would come and film for my opening sequence. So sound was so difficult to do because I had already done long hours of filming, and then there was voiceovers of the actress talking and myself talking, trying to direct her when I should have just kept quiet because I wanted to use the sounds of the water, of the her brushing her teeth. I wanted to use that as Foley sounds, and that was really difficult to do when there was people talking over. So what I had to do was cut and paste. Um, but this is why the skills that I gained from not knowing how to use Final Cut to now knowing how to use Final Cut, the skills that I've gained allowed me to know how to merge all the sounds together to make it sound as natural as possible. And even some of my teachers, the ones that have watched this, have even said that they couldn't, they wouldn't have recognized any of the differences with the sound. So which was really good, which was a positive feedback to hear. Um, Another thing was that I was so persistent on wanting to use Foley for my sounds, and um, yeah, so I enjoyed using Foley. And the sound effects that I used were from YouTube as well. So that was like one of the background music that you'll hear in the beginning of the first couple scenes. Um, yeah. So lastly, um, this is the other time. This is another comment on After Effects. I didn't use After Effects once. I used it like around a couple times. I used it quite frequently in my film. Um, this second time it was much easier because I was already used to using After Effects. So to, when I was watching the videos, I had already known like what the next step was going to be because I'd already known how to do it. I already knew how to do it. I think I have some examples here. I can't find Sandy. I can't find the. So once I'd done it, like I already knew what to do. So that's my commentary on technology, and